Welcome back to Elden Ring. So we just took our first steps into Limgrave, into the world of Elden Ring, and we made ourselves over here to the Gatefront ruins where we met Melina, and now we're going to keep kind of following the path that the game is like pushing us towards, right? Because it's literally pointing the direction, like, go that way. And so for now, that's what we're going to kind of do, because when you're first kind of going, like, you kind of have two choices, right? And what I ended up doing my first time playing through was just wander out, just like, yeah, I know this is where the game's telling me to go, but I'm going to go explore. But if you're looking for more direction, like, that's the way to go. And I think the way it's kind of guiding us is say, like, hey, push yourself this way, push yourself this way. And it wants you to keep going as far as you can until you hit a wall. And when you start hitting that wall, then you step back and go explore somewhere else, gather some materials, level up, and then you start following it back along, right? And you would keep going like that, follow the line, follow the grace until you can't anymore, and then go back, do some other things, come back. Or, you know, you can kind of do whatever you want. Now, in between the recordings, I ended up farming some stuff because I wanted the spear from the knight guy, so I got a partisan, and I ended up getting a Lordthorn straight sword. In addition to that, though, I got the gilded great shield from the knight, and it has some interesting like stuff on it. So it's a metal great shield coated with gold, which makes sense. Everything that's important seems to be coated with gold, like once you start like moving up in ranks, right? Carried by knights loyal to Godric. We know about Godric up in the castle. The red tinge in the gold coat mirrors the primordial matter that became the Erd tree, the color of homeward yearning, which is interesting, right? So is there something about the primordial matter that became the Erd tree, and it's got like a red gold to it, and you can kind of see it in the shield, right? It's got that pinkish rose gold. We also got, yeah, the tree and beast surcoat, which we kind of looked at in the last episode as well. Like, we didn't have the item, but we looked at the guy. But it's worn by soldiers loyal to Godric the Grafted. The surcoat depicts the distant Erd tree and the beast regent, an emblem of the golden lineage. Both are symbols of glory now past, which, I mean, the glory now past makes sense because everything's like in ruins. Erd tree obviously important, and beast. All right, so beast regent, so a regent being somebody who like rules instead of like somebody else, right? I haven't bothered to look it up, but anytime I hear that, it's kind of what I think of. But we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna push through, and we can see, like, if you just a little bit of power of observation will, like, that'll carry you pretty far in these games. And looking in, you can see there's a big boy up there kind of hanging out. And this is just a fortification, like we said. Like, they are keeping people out. There are sentries and guards everywhere, all fighting to keep us away from things, to keep the Tarnished away from the Elden Ring, away from Godric, you know, something. But we are going to try and fight it. Normally, I would, like, run and just go from there. That did not stagger him. That's unfortunate. When you were ready to dodge around him, whoop, and we heal up. There we go. Now what I should probably do is get rid of all the little extra dudes because they are really annoying. And this is where I'm going to swap over to the sword because it's a little bit faster. It makes it easier to deal with them. Ow. The good thing is, too, he seems to hurt his allies as well. So we can use that to our advantage. Yeah, see? Look at that. And now we can focus on him. Just keep it calm. Keep it simple. Of course, I still, like, rolled a little early there. And see how I, like, overcommitted on my attacks? You just want to take what hits you can get. And I'm making a lot of mistakes here. Need some space so we can actually see. There is still somebody alive, and he's taking shots at us, which will be pretty annoying. There we go. Get one more swing. Maybe one more. Nice. All right, let's get rid of the extra dude, because that's starting to get to me. Maybe not. Here we are. Watch out for big smash. Nope. Wah-ha! You saw you hit me. Now, we can probably use our square off ability here to end up staggering him. Or not. Really thought that would be enough to drop him. Not yet. He does not want to stagger. There we go. We'll run around here to his face, do a nice little jumping attack in the process, and then finish him off. Now, the good thing with, you know, as us moving through the open world is that as we defeat clusters of enemies, they will drop, or, you know, we'll refill our Crimson Flask. Now, I didn't really point out the things about the big guy when we were fighting him, right? But he was a gnarly looking thing, right? He was fleshy, emaciated looking. Like, that's a big thing that kind of shows up. It's just things looking emaciated and like just completely withered. And he looked pretty withered, right? His whole abdomen was like sunken in, and if we could get a good look at it, maybe we'll get a good look later at one that's like not really moving, we'll see that it almost looks like roots like, which I mean kind of makes sense. Not necessarily for those things specifically, not that we know of right now, but because I mean you got the Erd tree, and the Erd tree is an important thing. And so if it ties in with a bunch of different things, of course there's going to look like there's some kind of root things happening. We saw it with the tree sentinel dude. He had some rootish looking things, tree emblems and stuff like that. And we can see it in other enemies as well. And again, when we get another tight look in there, like a good look, we'll notice that he had like something in the chest. There was something else there that it was like grasping. Now we have a keep following the road, but obviously there is some more fortifications there. So we're going to go check that out because he jumped down from a place. They were doing something, and we can see something else here. Lots of goats and some weird stone thing standing up, which normally they don't attack us, right? He's pretty chill, but we can target him. If we break him up, you know, we kill it. It drops an item. What does it drop? A ruined fragment. And it looks like they're all facing in. Like, see how those guys are facing in this way? This guy's facing that way. Our dude that we just killed here was facing towards there. Like, they're all facing this thing in the center, and there's stuff. There's more of them, like, limping around. Ruin fragments, which we found on the ground. I'm getting attacked by a goat, of course. But the ruin fragments, stone fragments found near places where ruins have fallen from the sky, can be used for crafting or throwing. They are shards of stone believed to have once been part of a temple in the sky. They glow with a faint light from within. So this is interesting because picking them up, you would think, oh, you know, it's just from, like, the ruins around the world, right? We've been seeing just fragments of crap all over the place. But it's not just from buildings and places here. Like, they're saying it's from somewhere up in the sky. And this place is called Stormvale. So, like, Stormvale Castle, foot of the storm catacombs, whatever it is. Like, all stormy sky stuff. So, you know, there's some tie-in there, maybe, right? Like, it's all kind of storm-related. There's stuff from falling from the sky, a temple in the sky. So, you know, what's the connection there? But here we got a soldier. And this is a different dude. He is not like the other soldiers we fought. He's got fur armor on. He's got a big old sword, where the other dudes have been more traditional-looking soldiers, right? And he's got some chainmail. He's got like that northern kind of look. And there was a northern kind of beginning style character we can make, a northerner from the frozen Northlands or something. Supposedly descended from giants. And that was a big-looking dude, too. So maybe. He also dropped us some frozen raisins. But, you know, again, the wildlife is going to attack us anytime I want to look at things. Fries prepared of preparation, geez, of dried rhymed raw. Oh my god! Is there anybody else? Okay. Preparation of dried rhymed roa. You can feed it to Torrent, the spectral steed, while riding to vastly restore his HP. He seems to enjoy the sensation of chewing this frozen, dried seed. All right, interesting. There's some other things with the roa seed, so if I find some more things to actually say what it is, I'll explain it a little bit. Come on out, guys. There we go. I haven't been using the partisan. I like the spears. And this one in particular, because it has a sweep motion, I like a lot too. Alright, I think nobody else? Alright, I was going to say, I thought there might have been one more dude. But there's a treasure chest here. What do we get? Arrow's Reach Talisman. That's our first talisman that we've gotten so far, though I could have gotten one in a different area. What does it say? Depicting 3 arrows carried by hunters of beasts. Increases the effective range of arrows. Or bows, whichever word it was. Kind of the same thing, right? So cool. Not really much to see from there, but again, we see a lot more, like, just more people, like, crucified out. You can see out in a ways. It's very hard to see. You can see where this place is called Stormvale. It's super windy. There's lots of low clouds and stuff hanging around us. Now, back on the road, we find ourselves a little goldeny sprout tree thing. Like, and we found one of these in the Stranded Graveyard when we first got here to the Lanes Between. And there's an item under this one, and it's a golden seed. And when we choose that for a starting item, we know that it says it washed ashore from the golden, or from the Lanes Between. Like, when we got it, it was from here, not where we were at originally. So if we go and we look at it, though, we'll see if it's the same description. And it's not. So it's a golden seed found at the base of an illusory tree. So this tree isn't real. It'll increase the number of flasks that we have at the site of grace. And when the Elden Ring was shattered, these seeds flew from the Erd tree, scattering across the various lands as if life itself knew that its time, or that its end had come. So when we saw the beginning, the Elden Ring was shattered. And it didn't really talk about the Erd tree in there, but when that happened, this shatters out. We know the Erd tree has stuff to do with like the primordial matter, and this talks about it as like life itself come to an end. So these seeds went out to grow new things, but it's at the base of an illusory tree, and right there, like we can see the Erd tree there, and it's got that same thing. So is the Erd tree itself illusory? Is like the conclusion you can get from that, because it looks the same. It says this is at the base of an illusory tree, so are they different? Like, maybe we'll get more as we like keep going. And we finally come up to our next site of grace that we have been guided to. So we'll go ahead and touch that. We'll rest. There's some items here, some old rain to, like, you know, a Roundtable Shack. All the buildings are just ramshackled here, right? And we can go ahead and increase our flask as well. And then it looks like Melina wants to talk to us, so we'll see what she has to say.
This tiny golden aura is the grace of the Erd tree. This light once shone in the eyes of your tarnished brethren, but now it is all that guides you. Also I hear, you can see them, can't you? The rays of grace that guide you through your burden.
Alright. So yeah, so it's a grace from the Erd tree, which if you look at the, like you look at the base of it, I hadn't talked about the base of it before, but this is a great time. Look, it's like kind of like it's sprouting up from the ground like a tree or something, and it's got little roots. And when we die, if you go back and you look where your runes are at, it looks kind of branchy, twiggy almost. So it makes sense. These runes and the grace are tying all back to the Erd tree. But is the Erd tree the same thing as the Elden, or not the Elden, yeah, the Elden Ring? Because, you know, it talks about the Elden Ring being shattered, not the Erd tree. But when the Elden Ring was shattered, that's when the Erd tree sent out all these seeds off across the various lands, I'm assuming, to propagate new trees. Because, you know, what do seeds do? They grow trees, right? They grow into bigger plants.
Upon the cliff in Castle Stormvale is a shard bearer, a demigod, who inherited a fragment of the shattered Elden Ring. If the rays of grace signal the castle, then the Elden Ring beckons you. As an ally by pact, I pray that you are fit to face the challenge presented by the ring.
Alright, so I mean, that's where it's putting us. It's been pushing us steadily towards the castle. Every time we look at the rays, it's pushing us towards the castle to assume get one of these shards. Because we need the shards, I guess, for the Elden Ring to become Elden Lord, maybe. And we're going to have to deal with the demigod who picked one up after the ring was broken, and then it led to the shattering and, like, corrupted them, maybe, right? Because it talks about corruption. And, you know, he has a couple different names. We heard Godwin the Golden from the memorial thing, and it talks about the golden lineage. Gold is a very important, like, signifier symbol in here, right? The grace of gold, like our gold hue in the eyes from, you know, the grace. But on other things, like when we read about these soldiers and who they're loyal to Godric the Grafted. And there's also the Grafted Scions, who are just horrible monster things. So, you know, we'll see where that goes. Stat-wise, what I'm looking for, my character, I mean, he's just a solid knight using his spear, shield, and sword as the situation dictates it. But I want to use great shields eventually and just use shield bash and stuff. But I'm going to need a lot of endurance for that, for the great shield, and I'm going to need a lot of strengths. But for right now, until I have those things, we'll stick with our standard shield, and we'll just kind of slowly work up some of our other stats, like vigor is super important. So there's an item there, a little fire we notice, and a person. wearing what looks like a red cloak. There's some white clothes with her as well, as far as like what her outfit is. And we'll take a little closer look. Yeah, you can see her hair, a little green brooch, and some gloves. And she's just sitting there. Like, you know, not doing anything, has not even, like, registered us, right?
Everyone's been grafted. Everyone who came with me. They crossed the sea for me. They fought for me. Only to have their arms taken. Their legs taken. Even their heads taken. Taken and stuck to the spider. Did you know, if you're grafted by the spider, you become a chrysalid? It's quite a lark when you think about it.
Huh. So, she came, and obviously if people came and were doing it for her, you know, she seems to be important, but they're gone, and they've been grafted to a spider. Right? Like, okay. And then she says, if that happens to you, you become a chrysalid. What does a chrysalid do? You know, unless I'm like completely mistaken, that's like, you know, what, you know, caterpillar metamorphosing into like, you know, a chrysalid, a pod, cocoon, until it turns into something else. And so I would assume that she's just like implying that, yeah, if that happens to you, you'll turn into this and you'll turn into something else, right? It seems a little far-fetched to me, but, you know, crazier things.
And heading to Stormvale Castle, enticed by the one in the white mask.
So she's met him too.
Oh, you've come to be one with the spider?
I've not, no.
Well, that makes us two peas in a pod. But I don't have your courage. It's scary, you know, having your arms cut off, or legs, or your head. I want to be like everyone else, but I'm just too scared. I'm nothing but a craven.
I mean, to be fair, though, like, I'm not looking to become one with the spider. I don't want, like, it's a pretty natural response to not want your arms and legs chopped off. Like, I think you're okay, girl.
I know. Can you take this little one along with you?
Spirit jellyfish.
The poor thing deserves someone braver than myself. And the spirits look rather fondly upon you. It'll be glad of your company, I think, the little one.
All right. Anything else?
It was a pleasure to see you. Oh, can you pass on a message for me? If you see the little chrysalids in Stormvale Castle, tell them I love them. And that, despite my craven heart, I'm sure I'll be joining their club soon enough. I'm finally getting the hang of this whole pain thing, you know?
Okay. Well, let's take a look at the jellyfish thing. Used to summon spirit jellyfish. A floating spirit that illuminates its surroundings. Prone to tears, the jellyfish girl searches for her distant home. Will bravely spew poison at her foes on her summoner's behalf. It seems her name is Aurelia. Interesting. So there's like a whole personality for this one, right? She's got a name. She's looking for something. I mean, this guy talks about his past, but this one seems like it's still actively looking for something. And, I mean, she said the spirits look favorably on us, which is interesting that she, like, would know that. And look, we have two different ones. So we had this grave glovewort that we got in there. It has a soundless bell used to summon spirits, which we have these spirit things. And then we got this ghost one. It's a white flower that blooms in the catacombs. A spirit nestles close to it. And you can see it, right? There's a little wispy spirit next to it, which is very similar to the grace, right? It had that, like, little wispy grace or light of grace. And then ashes which keep their renown, even after death, cannot be strengthened by merely corporeal glovewort. So what does it mean by that? So this is like a corporeal gravewort, I assume. And this is a ghost one. So it's incorporeal. It's not really there in a way. And when it talks about ashes that keep their renown, you know, these are all my ashes, right? Spirit jellyfish ashes. They are ashes of a spirit jellyfish, of a sorcerer, of a noble. And so what does it mean by those who keep their renown? Like these all have stories to them, but there's no name to this one. There's no name to this one. This one has a name. So did this one keep its renown? But there's not like a story to her, really. Like, you know, so we'll kind of see as we find more things. Now we're going to continue up here, and you can see when we look at this thing, it, again, points us to the castle. Not even specifically to the castle. It's pointing us to the next side of Grace, and it's just really leading us along the path to the castle. But before we do that, there was a blacksmith site here at the church, right here, Church of Ele, where Kale is. And we're going to go there to upgrade some of our weapons a little bit, because we've gotten some materials to do that.
This way, Tarnished. May I have a word?
Oh, and then there's a mysterious person. Where's Kale? There's some kind of weird mist going on. Kale is not responsive. Okay. And who is this? Let's take a look at her. She got some cloak. She's obviously not attacking us. She's trying to talk to us. And look, she's got a spirit double face, like it looks like, right? It's kind of ghostly looking. Some kind of marker around that eye that then splits off. She's got some kind of cracked things on the side, along with a big old hat, right? And on the inside, it looks kind of rootish, right? And to me, it reminds me of a mushroom a little bit. But then she's got a big old fur cloak and 4 arms, but her arms are weird. Like, look at that. And there is a ring on that one as well. Maybe we can get a better angle from here. Her hands are all sewn together, which is weird. And now I want to try and get a better look at her spirit face. And there it is. Blinks with their eye, so it's like a mirror of that eye. Because it blinks in the same timing. So a reflection. And so she's got these sewn arms. She's got a little ring there. She's all cracked, though. Cracked in the face, on her neck, around some of her other arms and stuff. Huh. Well, let's see what she has to say.
A pleasure to meet thee, Tarnished. I am the witch Renna. I'd heard tell of a Tarnished hurtling about atop a spectral steed, and upon looking into the matter, the talk I surmise is of thee. Thou art possessed of the power, no? To call forth a spectral steed named Torrent.
Alright. Now, obviously, she's not hostile, but, like, can we really trust her, right? Like, we could say we can, or we could be like, nah, like, because, like, why does she want to know?
Trifle not with me, Tarnished. Or didst thou merely forget the name of the spectral steed thou callest?
Now, something else about this, if we think back to the opening cinematic, we actually see a picture of someone who looks just like this, like the hat, right? And she had some kind of little wandy looking thing in hand. And it's along, when it shows that picture, it's along with the same line saying that what does it say? The demigods, offspring of America all. And so there's a picture of presumably her, and then that line. Now, I'm not saying it verbatim because I don't remember what it is verbatim.
I will ask thee again. Thou art possessed of the power, no? To call forth a spectral steed.
Alright, let's go ahead and say we can.
As I had hoped, I was entrusted this for thee by Torrent's former master.
Okay. A spirit calling bell and lone wolf ashes.
'Tis a bell for calling forth spirits. Summon them with it. From ash and return to the Erdtree, the spirits will obey thine command but briefly. As they recall battles past, now it is thine, to do with as thou wishest.
Okay. Interesting. So, right, because we had these ashes, and we could assume that they're ashes of things. We were just reading about that. And she says that they're unreturned to the Erdtree. And we went into a catacomb on the last one, so we know that, like, a proper death, the ghost was telling us in the catacombs that a proper death means returning to the Erdtree to wait the roots to collect you and return to the Erdtree. And these ashes have not returned to the Erdtree, so it's not a proper death, but we can call back their spirits.
Forgive mine intrusion, Tarnished. I doubt we shall again meet. But all the same, learn well the lands between. How long will it be, I wonder, before the Tarnished tire of obeisance to the 2 fingers?
We've heard the 2 fingers before, because it said that was the finger maidens, how they serve the 2 fingers. But we haven't really heard anything else about them, and she's wondering when we're going to get tired of it. The mist is gone, though. Mist is gone. Kale's awake. Let's see if he has anything to say.
Wait, weren't you? Well, you're back.
Did you talk?
There are others of my people who yet survive.
Oh, so he did not say anything about what happened.
If the mood takes you and you meet one, then offer them some trade, won't you? My people, wanderers all have long been spurned by the grace of gold.
Okay.
Which is why we cannot settle, but instead are forced into this pitiful, unceasing journey. But thanks to that, things are not so different for us now, though the Elden Ring is shattered. I think this makes us kindred spirits of sorts. Your people, the Tarnished, and mine.
Okay. So, yeah, I guess his people, for some reason, don't have the grace, and they haven't had it for a while, hence why he's saying, they are wanderers, because they aren't graced by, grace. But we've kind of got it back now, but we're still, wanderers of a sort, I guess. Huh.
Perhaps you don't need to hear this, but see that no harm comes to my kin. We have a saying, we wanderers, lament not your solitude. Expect no sympathy, no regard, nothing. But if anyone dares harm us, show them no mercy. That is our code, so to speak. Just the way we are, deeply unforgiving.
Interesting. Okay. So, don't cross them, or they'll fight you, right? And they will not forgive you at all. Let's take a look. We got that telescope. We never really looked at him. We got a close kind of look. He's got jewels. He's got the armor, right? He looks old, I'm assuming. He's got, he's all baggy, wrinkly eyes. But he got an interesting look. And in a lot of ways, it kind of reminds me of, it makes me think of Hal and Hal's Moving Castle. His room is just filled with baubles and things, right? Let's take a look at the spirit ashes that we got. The Lone Wolf. So, use to summon the spirits of 3 lone wolves, which is kind of an oxymoron, right? How can there be 3 lone wolves? I guess they all come together at once for a singular time? I don't know. Spirits of wolves chased from their pack. They later encountered a nameless Tarnished who welcomed them as hunting companions. The spirit wolves overwhelm enemies with their agility, aiding the summoner in battle. Interesting. But we got a pretty important thing here, Spirit Calling Bell. A bell capable of summoning various spirits from ashen remains, but it takes FP to use. Spirits can only be summoned in the vicinity of a rebirth monument. When summoning is possible, the monument icon will be visible on the left side of the screen. Only one type of spirit may be summoned at once, and none may be summoned during multiplayer. So, I'll be honest, I don't think the rebirth monument has any actual lore thing. I'm pretty sure that's just a whatchamacallit, a gameplay thing, right? Because all of this is really just it's all just mechanics for the game. But bells are pretty important. They've been important in the previous games as well. And even this one uses the spirit calling bell to summon spirits, I guess. And it's just like this right here where it says a soundless bell used to summon spirits. So it ties in with, the plants and stuff that go in with the spirits and the ashes that we're using to summon. Alright, continuing our way up the path, we can see, again, there's patrols of soldiers. They don't want us reaching the hill. Which, makes sense if they want to keep us away from stuff. And despite how, ragged they seem and whatnot, they are still fairly well organized. They have kept their things up. Who knows how long they've really been out here. And they're still trying to hold the line. Look at this. It's a huge fortification. There's barricades up. There's a friggin' ballista thing right there. And just a full squad of soldiers. I'm moving in here, having defeated all these soldiers. We got ourselves a nice little pathway thing. And you can see there's a wall. We're going along this whole walled section. If we walk back out, we can see it too. It's gated out. It's set to withstand siege. This is a full friggin' castle. So moving in, we'll see what we find. And there's our our next side of grace that has been pushing us towards. Now, this is a pretty big step for us. First time playing through, you could easily go here pretty quickly. And, like I'm doing right now, just follow the side of grace. Or you could wander out and explore the world. But if you go straight here, this is often, for a lot of people, was a kind of wall. One of your first walls where you said, oh, wow, I need to stop and go do other things. So, Castleward Tunnel. Castleward. And so this is the tunnel towards the castle. Let's see what Melina has to say.
Me? I'm searching for my purpose, given to me by my mother inside the Erd Tree, long ago.
Huh.
For the reason that I yet live, burned and bodiless. There is something for which I must apologize. I've acted the Finger Maiden, yet can offer no guidance. I am no maiden. My purpose was long ago lost.
Interesting. So, right, because when she first shows up, she's like, yeah, I can act as a Finger Maiden for you, give you strengths of runes and stuff. I just ask you take me with you to the base of the Erd Tree. And so she's saying, she's like, well, I guess our character asks, like, why are you going? And she's like, oh, me? I'm looking for my purpose. And she lost it long ago, and it's a purpose she got from her mother inside of the Erd Tree, which kind of explains why she wants to go back there. If she was from there and that's where she got her purpose, she wants to go back there to find it, right? Now, she's burned and bodiless. What else is burned and bodiless? The spirit ashes that we have, right? Because they're all ashes, things that did not return to the Erd Tree in death. And so she shows up like that. Like she kind of wispy spirits in, wispy spirits out, just like the ashes do. And the witch Renna did that as well. So that's interesting. Let's go ahead and move into this section right up here. It's also interesting. There's a gold thing there. But anytime you get to some of these spots, you'll notice that there is, like, look, a little crucifixy looking thing. Just like we've been seeing all over the place with actual people on there. And there's like a stone thing. And see how it's got a little cipher on there? You know what that reminds me of is the whetstone knife that we've got. Because it has little cipher inscriptions along it as well. And is made to look like a small knife blade. And looking along here, look at that. It's kind of like a knife blade looking thing stuck into the ground with more occult symbols on it. But if you interact with it, we examine it, it's a summoning pool. So we can use it for multiplayer stuff. I'm not really going to do any multiplayer, but there is this right here. Sorcerer Rogier. So he's an NPC. We're going to summon him because I think it helps add to like kind of the story and like what we're trying to do. Because a lot of the NPCs, if not all of them, have their own stories, right? We met that girl in the shack. She has some kind of story, like she came with people. There's this dude. What's his deal? Like, who is he? And we'll get a little glimpse of it as we summon him for this next part here, which, again, just like at the beginning of the game, if you've spent any time playing video games and you look at a section like this where there's a summoning pool, a checkpoint right there, and a guy to bring in, you know it's a boss fight, right? You know it is. I don't know that I'm going to do any spirit ashes. I might. Maybe we will. I'll do some. Who are we going to put in here? Let's do jellyfish. I like jellyfish. And there it is. Look at that castle, dude. It is huge. And like I said, 90% of what you see when you're playing a From Software game, if not more than 90%, are all places you can go. Like, that whole, like, along there's some bridge thing over there. Yeah, we could probably go there. But look at this. Weapons everywhere. Like, it's strewn with weaponry all over the place. And I mean, the bloodstains are from other players, but you can get the right impression from that, right? That this is a bloody field of battle right here, right before the castle. And what have we been encountering? Guards and sentinels.
In search of the Elden Ring, emboldened by the flame of ambition.
He's a big guy. Margit, the Fell Omen. There we are. Now, he's gnarly looking, right? And he definitely gives me the vibes of old, right? He's all gray-haired. He's like kind of warty nose looking. Like he just looks old to me. I put my spirit jellyfish in the wrong place. That's a bummer. Give it a second. But look at him, too. He's not, like, armored or anything. Like, he's wearing what looks to be rags. He's covered in horns. He's got this gnarly-looking tail. Like, it's got a big old horn stuff. Horns coming out of the side of his face as well. Like, this dude is obviously not a normal dude, outside of being giant and whatnot. Alright, let's take this moment to summon our jellyfish. Look at that. There's a little box. We ring a bell, and what happens? It comes swirling in. And it's got kind of a purpley color, but that could just be the jellyfish as well, right? Now, I haven't been paying attention to Rajir and seeing what all he's doing. But he's got a big floppy hat, kind of like Renna the Witch. And if you're familiar with the various Souls game, you know that the witch, or not witches, but the big hats are normally have something to do with sorcery and magic, like Big Hat Logan, and I'm barely alive. Keep the aggro, Rajir. There's good hits. Let's get a backstab now. And see, you can hear him casting magic. Look, he's got blue sword. He's summoning magical swords. We're going to keep trying to do some more of our actual square-off skill to, like, really drop his posture and stagger him just like that. We'll get one strong R2 and then get a nice backstab. I've got a tiny bit left, and now we're out. Now, if I still had my blue flask on the bar, I could use it against him. So, Margit the Fell Omen. So, he's a fell, meaning bad, obviously, right? And I messed it up, and I died. Interesting. Now, he showed up. He called us foul tarnish. Like, he's just like, foul. He does not like us. He thinks we are awful. And we're emboldened by the flame of ambition. Ambition for what? In search of the Elden Ring. So he's saying, like, we want this thing, and we've got this idea of becoming Elden Lord, right? Because we've heard about it. Seek out, the Elden Ring, become Elden Lord. And he says we're emboldened by this ambition, and we shouldn't be. So he's there to stop us. He's there to put us out and keep us out. Now, this is where I could keep going and fighting and winning, or we could stop and we say, oh, I want to go and I want to, like, explore, and I want to go find some things and strengthen myself up because he's a tough guy, right? And so we're going to go with a second option. We're going to say, like, oh, I need to go strengthen up. So we've got choices here and where we can go. We've been following it here. There's a road going over here, up and along there. There's that finger reader, Crone. You know, there's a lot of things we can go check out. There was even that weird thing with those stone snakes that we didn't check out. So we've got choices. So we just need to make a choice and go. And for me right now, we're going to go ahead and go here. We're going to go up. We're going to talk to this finger reader Crone and see what she has to say. So we're on that road north. And the interesting thing about it is it's not actually like a true road anymore, right? It's basically a path through the woods now, which is interesting because it feels like it shouldn't be like that when you consider that it goes to a bridge. And you can see it does kind of pick back up again. And it makes sense because, I mean, everything's, you know, not taken care of. And riding up, we do find that bridge. But look, it looks like it leads, like, straight up into a cliff face or something. And considering they said something about the shattering and stuff, I mean, it kind of makes sense. Like, everything's broken. The landscape doesn't seem to match up anymore. Like, maybe it does lead to something over there. But we've got the finger Crone here, and she's crazy looking. Like, take a look at her. Look at that. She got, like, no eyes, super wizened and old looking. She got this headdress looking dealed. Almost like, I would almost call that thing around her neck, it almost looks shackly to me, but it's got, like, little talisman-y baubles on it. There's her crazy feet and hand. Like, she got her hands and I guess another foot right there. If you look at it, like, it's her feet on some, like, chair deal. I wonder if we can see anything on her clothes, because, like, you can sometimes get some ideas of what they're about based on what they're wearing and any symbols there. I mean, it's ragged looking, but it might have been fine once, right? Like, fine blue with gold edging and stuff. She's got some staff with a bunch of little, looks like little bells, and we know bells are pretty important because we use them to summon spirits. Let's see what she says.
Please, I can read them. Your fingers, please, your fingers.
All right, we'll show her our hands.
Bless you. Head to the foundation of gold tarnished. Traverse
Rhea Lucaria, glintstone eventide, and reunite the half-crescents at the Grand Lift. Oh, but the bridge is collapsed and cannot be crossed. Only, why should that matter? Stormvale Castle still stands tall.
Okay, so she said to find the foundation of gold. Go through Rhea Lucaria, the glintstone eventide, and we've learned a little bit about glintstones and sorceries and stuff. So it's magic, and we've heard a little bit about Rhea Lucaria too. Something more is like astrologers. There's a Carrion family, right? Rhea Lucaria, Carrion. Like there's kind of a tie-in in the names, but she's like, oh, the bridge is broken. Oh no. But it doesn't matter because there's the castle. So we can go, like normally we could take this bridge, I guess. But she says, oh, but the castle's there, so you can take the castle. And then take the half crescent, like, symbols and go to the lift, right? And if we look, like, there is some kind of path there. We could take that path. We're not going to take it, though. We're going to kind of follow her things where she's like, oh, yeah, what's it called? There's the castle. Go through the castle. So earlier I mentioned those ruined fragments, and it talked about things fallen from the sky, and that's where they came from. And I mean, look at this. These are big, just chunks of something that are, like, embedded in the ground. And so, you know, I had naturally assumed that they are, like, from some building that might have once been here. But are they really? Or did it actually fall from the sky? Is it some, like, sky temple, you know? There's a troll way over here, too. Maybe we'll check out what he's doing. I said he's a troll, but we don't know that they're actually called trolls. But look at him. Look at his face. Like, he's got a big, like, I don't know what you call, like, mane. And it's, like, all tendrily looking. But look in that chest. He's got a sword, too. I mentioned that. Big golden sword. But look, he's got big opening. And you can see that there's a lot of, like, root-looking sections in there. Like, look at it. It's like tendrils, and it's wrapped around something in there. You can kind of see it there. As hard was him, like, attacking us. So we're going to go ahead and we're just going to take him down. But look how nasty he is. He's got, like, growths on him and stuff. Like, big old blistery, like, almost like tumors or something. And he just looks gnarly. But that's pretty par for the course when you consider everybody else we've seen has been, like, zombified looking, just nasty. Overall, not great. In addition to how the, like, buildings and structures are not well kept anymore, how they've, like, decayed to time, so have, like, the denizens of the lands between. Like, everything is just kind of, like, breaking apart. And look at the top of that. Look how, like, thick, viney looking it is. Huh. And was he actually guarding something? He was. Like, look at that. And it's like a big basin deal, which basins in some of the previous games, you get like the Lord Vessel and stuff. It's all roots holding it up, and I would assume something important. But in there, too, it's like, it's water. It's like it's collecting things, which, I mean, obviously, it's a basin. What's going to happen is going to collect water because it's a bowl, right? But it's got something else. What is it? A strength knot crystal tear. Now, we've heard about tears before. We got that from our flask of crimson tears, which, speaking of, let me fix my item, right? Because these flasks of crimson and cerulean tears are all, like, modeled after a golden holy chalice that was once graced by a tear of blessing. And we just got some kind of tear thing, a tear of, like, strength knot or something, right? So if we go and we look at that, it's a crystal tear formed slowly over the ages where the Erd Tree's bounty falls to the ground. So it can be mixed in the flask of wondrous physic, and it will temporarily boost one's strengths. Now, it takes a long time, apparently, like slowly over the ages, where the Erd Tree's bounty falls to the ground. And I mean, if we read on this again, this says it was fed by leaves that fell from the Erd Tree in days of antiquity. So again, it makes it seem like the leaves haven't fallen in a long time. And then we've got this thing that says it's from, like, the bounty that, you know, falls to the ground. And it takes ages. But I like, you know, how we saw that troll dude there. It's like, okay, there's a big troll dude on this big open plaza. Like, why is he there? So again, like, I like how in these games, a little bit of observation will, like, guide you towards things. You're like, okay, what's going on right here? There's a dude there. Is there something there? And then you explore and you find stuff. And keeping our eyes up, we see, oh, there's another side of Grace over there. And you can see some of the swirls kind of over it. We can go check it out. And we find there's another person hanging out, squatting in an old shack. What is the name of this one? Because sometimes the names of the sites can tell you things. The Warmaster Shack. Interesting. Whereas this one is the Stormhill Shack, was a heartbroken maiden. And what's his name? Does it say? We don't know yet because we haven't talked to him. But look at that armor. Like, he's, like, fancy decked out. Like, look at that. He's got, like, beasts, like, lion-y looking things on there almost. Like, his armor is very fancy. It's heavily decorated. He's, like, peppered gray. He's like a seasoned warrior. Great eyes. Along with a big ol' Zweihander.
Not seen you before. Name's Bernard.
Bernard.
Tarnished, just like you. Let me ask you something. Are you here in the lands between to take up the fight? Does your faith in the guidance of grace hold firm? Despite the collapse of the Golden Order?
Ah, so he says the Golden Order has collapsed. So does my faith still hold firm? I mean, our character is a knave of some sort. A banished knight. So maybe we're not sure.
Honest to a fault, I see. Such thoughts won't behoove you as a tarnished. But there's nothing wrong with that. Any interest in bearing the torch of my battle arts? All I know is the sword. Picked up a fair few tricks in my time, too. Now's the time to pass them on. To a good tarnished like you.
Alright. So, Knight Bernard. What's he got? So, he's got skills for us to learn. You know, battle arts and stuff. I was hoping he had Shield Bash. For some reason, I thought he did. I would like Shield Bash. But, you know, he's got a lot of cool ones in here. They're pretty nice. We could go with a no skill. I'm not a big parry person. The parry is very good if you actually, like, practice it. But I like the no skill one so that I can actually use my sword skill easily.
There's a myriad of battle arts in these lands that I've yet to discover. Mementos of all the warriors who raised their arms in battle, lost and died. A fine tale, all told, of true chivalric romance. That's how I fell in love with the sword and the arts of combat. It grants meaning even to falling in battle, to death itself.
Interesting. Alright.
Well, until we meet again.
Now, when we get some more runes, we'll probably pick up more skills, because having more skills is good. And a lot of times, different NPCs are going to have more to say when we have purchased things from them. But what's Melon have to say?
I've been testing you to see whether or not grace truly does guide you, and whether you are fit to face the challenge that entails. It seems my worries were unfounded.
Oh, so she's been holding out on us.
Had your measure from the very start.
But the horse trusted us.
Whereas I merely pretended. There is but one other thing I can do to offer you guidance. I can take you to the Roundtable Hold, gathering place of tarnished champions, guided by grace.
Alright, so that's one of the things that Vare had mentioned, right? He was like, oh, you need a maiden, a finger maiden, and they'll give you, you know, guidance. So, like, teach you, tell you what the two fingers, grace or something, right? They'll give you the strengths of runes, and he's like, you haven't even been to the Roundtable Hold. And so she was able to give us the strengths of runes, but she admitted that she's not a finger maiden and can't really give us guidance on that front. But she can take us to the Roundtable Hold, which is where, I guess, the tarnished champions go. Those still guided by grace, and grace coming from the Erd Tree. So we don't really have any choice outside of closing it, but we should definitely go.
Very well.
And then when we do that, we'll probably call that for the video. Interesting. So we hold our hand, and that takes us there. So how does that work, I wonder? And here we are. Big thing. And you can immediately see a round table right in front of us, and it's covered in weapons. But, like, they're not just, like... It's not like when we were at that battle fighting Margit the Fell, where it's, you know, old weaponry just, like, strewn about. Like, you know, regular weapons. Like, these are, like, covered in like either root designs or actual like roots and vine looking things. Which, if it ties in pretty well with the Erd Tree, kind of makes sense. And even the like statues, look at that. There's like a kind of a knight looking dude, maybe with like a staff of things. And then there's like an old man, maybe in robes with a, kind of a, I don't know if a plant with like a flower blooming from the top. And in a way, these little, like, I don't know what you call those, alcoves, like they've got weapons and stuff in them right there. But in a way, it almost reminds me of a place you would put like bodies, right? Interesting. And there's a bunch of people around here. We'll talk to him because he's close. And there's a set of doors.
Oh, this is a rare occasion. I can't remember the last time a new Tarnished made their way to the Round Table. Very well. As your senior, I bid you welcome. It is safe here. You may let down your guard.
All right.
Allow me a word of advice. As your senior, you are a mere visitor to the Round Table. Nothing more.
Okay.
A house guest. Yet to earn their keep. Remember your place, newcomer.
This seems a bit harsh. Let's take a look at him. This dude's talking up a big game, being our senior and stuff. He's got some crazy looking staff thing, right? With like a hand orb that he's resting on. His armor's kind of strange looking, and even his helmet's very Sauron-y vibes. But it looks like eye motifs, right? Circling the head and stuff. Cloak, more eye kind of looking things. Which, I mean, we can speculate about what that means, but, again, hey, who knows?
There's nothing left to say. Be at your leisure.
Okay. Do you got something on your cloak? Some swirly, again, kind of eye-looking things to me. That's the Colosseum stuff. We're not going to deal with that. Another person. And he's got, like, it looks like fancy armor. A lot like Bernarl to me. Like, it's not even that it's actually the same, but simply that it's, like, actually well-kept, nice armor and, like, incredibly crafted and stuff. But his has, like, looks like red jewels and stuff. He's a younger one, whereas Bernarl is, like, old, right? Or not even, like, old. Older.
Ah, hello. You must be new here. Well, just call me Dialos. The honor of one's house holds little import in these lands. By the way, have you met a young woman named Lanya on your travels? She's my servant, but fickle as the wind. Take your eyes off her for but a moment and she's good as gone. If you find her, please be sure to tell me.
All right. So the fact that he mentions he's like, goes to tell us the name. He's like, well, just call me Dialos. Houses and families or whatever, not important in this place. So, I mean, given fine armor and stuff, the way he's like goes to give another name or something, you can kind of say like, oh, he's got some family name to him. But look at the back of that. It's got like a face thing on there. It's gnarly looking and looks like leaves or something around the collar. And he has a servant. I mean, most regular people don't have servants. So he's noble of some kind, right?
Be sure to tell me if you meet a young woman named Lanya. She's a servant to me. She's been
to my house, yep.
Since childhood. I've lost count of the number of times I've had to find her like this. Honestly, she's such a little tomboy.
What does that even mean? Maybe there's some mistranslation. I don't know. Here's this other dude. Look at this dude. He's different. He's got some ragged robes, right? He's got a bell. Another shackly, he's got a shackly thing around his neck, which is a lot like that finger reading Crone. Like she had something around her neck with little talisman things hanging from it. And then he's got a blindfold around his eyes. Is it because he's actually blind? Or is it something else? No feet. And he's even got a whole shackle on his leg, like he's a prisoner. But the vibe very much gives me like a monk, right? The way the robes kind of look. Like to me, it reminds me of like some kind of friar or monk.
Oh, I see you've just arrived. Welcome to the Roundtable Hold. I'm Corin, a man of the cloth.
Man of the cloth.
I teach incantations, the strength granted us by the two fingers, and explore the secrets of the Golden Order, so that one day if a tarnished of the Roundtable Hold should become Elden Lord, I might counsel them, ensuring order regains its proper form, righting rule over men. By the way, do you still see it? The guidance of grace.
We do see it, actually.
You do? Wonderful news. Most tarnished are blind to it these days. You are something of a rare breed. Well, what do you say? Care to learn an incantation of the two fingers?
All right, so he I mean, his name is Brother Corin, and he confirms. He says, "I'm a man of the cloth, here to teach you like incantations, gifts to us from the two fingers." Which again, we keep hearing about these two fingers, right? And in the beginning, when we choose one of our kind of like starting classes, there is one like prophet, I think was the name, and it says it was somebody who had like an inauspicious vision, right? And if you look at that and what it gives you, it also has a blindfold around the eyes, if I remember correctly. So maybe there's some tie-in there between him and that starting thing, right? And we can look at some of these incantations. And he's talked about, too, as well, like the Golden Order and using that to advise Tarnish if they become Elden Lord. So urgent heal. The two fingers had high hopes for the Tarnished that even if they should be wounded, even should they fall, they will continue to fight for their duty. Okay, so these are all incantations of the two fingers faithful. So like spells of those who are faithful to them. Kind of the same description. They all kind of cast this. This is a little different though. Magic fortification. It increases magic damage negation. Follow the path that has been set for you, and you will make enemies of all others. The monks, the sorcerers, the ancient dragon knights, and the scions of gold. Heed me, the lands between offers no welcome to the tarnished. Interesting. So this is like, you're going to have to fight everybody. And it's mentioned some other interesting ones, like monks, right? So like this dude, like will be enemies with him. Sorcerers, ancient dragon knights, scions of the gold, like scions being descendants, right? And we've heard like Godric, his name is Godric the Golden, kind of like some other demigod named Godwyn the Golden. And they're all like, gold is very important. Same thing with a flame fortification. And rejection. Heart tarnished, if you truly walk in faith, you must be prepared to reject all else. And then catch flame. This one's pretty interesting. It's an incantation originating from a sinister prophecy, right? And when like I just said a minute ago, we had the like prophet beginning class, and it talked about an inauspicious vision. So momentarily sparks flame in the caster's hand. So it's like a quick little burst of fire right in front of you. The flame of ruin is anathema to the Erd tree, which makes sense. It's a tree, right? Flame would be bad for it, but prophets sometimes glimpse it within the face all the same. Sadly, when this occurs, their sole reward is banishment. So he knows this. So did he see a thing? He's blindfolded. He's got a shackle on his leg, right? But he's here. So like perhaps he glimpsed something. He was imprisoned or banished, because you don't want to see that, right? Just like when somebody glimpses this, the only reward is banishment. But just like in the beginning, it talked about how suddenly, the grace starts reaching out to all these people. So maybe he was reached out to by the grace, and so now he's back and he's one of the tarnished. Same thing here.
May the Golden Order shine through you.
So he keeps to the faith of some Golden Order, even though we've heard that it is like fallen into ruin, that it is broken or something. And it's also against us and seeking the Elden Ring, because that's what Melina, when she first shows up, she's like, even if it defies the Golden Order, but he's like, oh, may the Golden Order shine through you. So things aren't adding up there, right? And then there's this mysterious guy. What do you want? Yep. Don't know, dude. He's skeletal looking. Look at that. He's got an arm on his side, and his armor, like ghost, go away. It's almost like fleshy, bony, burnt armor. But if you look like on his forehead, look, it's got like a jewel on there, and even on the gauntlets, like you look there's some other little bits of jewelry, even on the chest piece. Like there's some kind of like finery attached to it. Interesting. Lots of books in here too. Like it's dark. There's not a lot of light. Books all over the place. Oh, look, a finger reader Crone. Except there's 2 of them. They don't seem to be moving. There seems to be, like, no color, really, to them. It's hard to tell because it's dark. When we talk to them, they don't have anything to say. Twin Maiden Husks. Offer a bell bearing. We don't have those, but we can buy things from them. We've got Rune Arcs. It's a shard of the Shattered Elden Ring. Grants a blessing of an equipped great rune upon use. What does that even mean? Don't know yet because we haven't gotten anything like that. And even if no great rune is equipped, it will slightly increase maximum HP. The lower arc of the Elden Ring is held to be the basin in which its blessings pool. Perhaps this shard originates from that very arc. So we've already seen something with like a basin collecting blessings and stuff. We saw that with the Faith Knot, like a tier we got. There was a basin, and that's where it said it slowly accumulates blessings, a crystal blessing. And this rune arc, being the lower part of the Elden Ring, is said to be what collects the blessings, which is interesting, right? Maybe that connects to some other things. Or it at least implies that blessings come down from the Elden Ring, and it like pools and collects them. This is for, multiplayer stuff. One of the Lost Mystic codes said to have been just bestowed by the 2 fingers. This is kind of the same. There's not really anything there. Memory Stone is interesting. A black, lightly beguiling stone prized by the sorcerers who produce them. Increases memory slots and said to be a fragment of the Black Moon that once hung above the Eternal City. Which we haven't... This is the first time I've heard of the Eternal City. But we have heard about something eternal before. And the opening cinematic talks about how after, the Elden Ring was broken, it says that Queen Marika, the Eternal, is nowhere to be found. So there's another Eternal in there, right? So is there going to be some Eternal City that we're going to deal with? And what is this Black Moon? Oh, and look at this, a finger seal. And it's a lot of fancy filigree work on it. It's a sacred seal bestowed by a finger maiden, which serves as a catalyst for casting sacred incantations. So you use it to cast your incantations, your spells, like Korhin would teach us. And incantations must be memorized first at a site of grace, and a sacred seal must be equipped. So walking over on this side, we've got somebody sitting there. There's all these like armors, there's weapons, which, man, I would love if they could just let us use some of that. That'd be really great. But look at this dude. He is gnarly. And you know what it reminds me of in a way? It's not the same as... But it reminds me of Margit, that dude we fought up towards the castle. Because he's got all kinds of bony, spiny protrusions coming from him. And so did Margit the Fell Omen. And look, he's got almost like little tail nub looking things. Like, he's all gnarly looking as well. Now, his feet are like, I would call some kind of bird, lizard claw looking things. And he's shackled. Look, he's like shackled up into the wall. So he's not quite the same, but there are some similarities there, I would say.
You're a new face.
Yeah.
No matter. It's all the same. Lay out your arms. Let's get smithing.
Okay. Let's see. What about the chains on your leg, like, right?
I see you've noticed the chains.
I did.
Nothing special. I'm a prisoner and these are my chains. I'm trapped by the hold. I'm dying, smithing for you fools. That's all there is to it.
Okay. So you're a prisoner.
No, don't read too much into it. I've no grudge against you. My being a prisoner is no fault of yours. Besides, I don't mind smithing. Despite my differences, the weapons get stronger all the same. Given time, technique never fails. Besides, it helps me forget the sheer terror of her.
Huh. Interesting. So we can smith things. He can also do stuff with our Ashes of War, right? So we go in here, he can do things for us. Which actually we do want to do that because I would like no skill in my shield. I want to try and get a look at his face real quick. He's kind of moving, so it makes it a little tough when there's a hammer. He's all bearded. You can see he's like all scaled looking, right? Interesting. Down here, I don't think there's anything for us to really do except it's a door, and there is a barrier here, which we do have some stone sword keys. So let's go ahead and use one. We've gotten some. Let's check it out, see what's in here. Another hall. And there's another one right there. Interesting. And there's all these paintings around too. We haven't really looked at them, but look at that. There's the Erd Tree, and I'm assuming some kind of city structure underneath it. Something right there. I can't really see it too well, except I have a torch. Oh, look at that. That's a dude. Old man, braided. He's got some kind of beast thing. Crepice's Black Key crossbow and Black Key bolt. So let's take a look at that real quick. It's a crossbow. It's a black crossbow featuring a long stock. Used for sniping, it has a very long range. Weapon of Crepice, who served the two fingers from the shadows of the round table as head confessor. That's one of the starting classes. It talks about confessor, an order of like inquisitors that served the two fingers who like, you know, I mean, what does an inquisitor do? They inquisit, they question, they go out and they like seek and see who's like still loyal, right? So he worked from the shadows of the round table, and he gave us some like weapons to go with it, some crossbow bolts, Black Key bolts. Bolts used in his Black Key crossbow, an assassin's tool of exquisite craftsmanship. The intricate spiral tip bores deep, injecting scarlet rot far into the flesh of its target. Oh, so it's like a poison, right? Causes scarlet rot buildup. I mean, the only thing about it, though, that doesn't sound like poison is it doesn't actually say poison, because there is a poison stat. This is rot, and that's a little different from poison, right? Now, there is another door here that we could open up with our keys. How many do we have left? We have 2, so we could choose to do that now, and I think we will. I personally don't think what's on the other side is much interest to me, but maybe for what we're doing here, we're going to check it out. And it's like a storeroom, which makes me wonder, how are you supposed to eat if this is all sealed up? Yeah, all kinds of food. That is somehow not rotten. But what's in here? An assassin's prayer book, which fits with what we just found as well. So let's take a look at that. Give to a learned cleric to acquire new incantations. So it's a prayer book of the Roundtable Hold's assassins. So he's ahead of the Inquisitor, Crepice's. And so this implies that there's multiple. Or maybe there used to be, you know. Are there still more? Because in order for there to be a head of the Inquisitors, there needs to be multiple Inquisitors. And we could have made one too, I guess. So that'll be interesting. It did say to give it to a learned cleric. So we'll talk to Corin, you know, see what he has to say. But before we get there, we'll go check out this. Some more paintings and stuff. There is some kind of figure there with like a kind of circlet on their head, fine looking robes. There's that Erd Tree one, and there's another person there. Again, kind of a crowny circlet thing going on there. And that's what we can assume is America, but she's like, you know, overlaid over the Erd Tree. Again, that same pose, and it's the same pose. We've seen this all over the place. It's the pose of all the people who are crucified, and this is the same pose she has. We see it in the beginning. We see it in the statue of her. Like, it's all over the place. And then here's another person.
Greetings, great champion called by grace. I am Fia. Circumstances have compelled my stay at the Roundtable Hold. Great champion, would you allow me to hold you? But briefly, perhaps you might share with me some of your lively vigor and your stout-heartedness. Doing so will grant me the warmth of a champion, and you, I am sure, will bear a Baldakin's blessing. Do you think it vulgar, perhaps? Where I come from, it is a sacred act.
So, Fia, that's one of the names we hear in the opening cinematic. Fia, the deathbed companion. And in the picture, we see it, like, you see her kind of sitting up from, like, a blanket next to, like, a cadaver. And she's looking towards Grace. Like, we know that's Grace now. And those different pictures of these different names that the narrator was telling us, they all saw a little golden light of grace. And that's what she was looking at. And now she's here, stuck in the Roundtable Hold. And she would like to hold us to get the, like, warmth of a champion, the strengths of a champion. But then we will bear a Baldakin's blessing, whatever that is. So we're gonna do it. We'll try it.
My thanks, great champion.
She's calling me a champion. You know, I'm a sucker for compliments.
You are very warm.
Baldachin's blessing.
What you felt light up inside you was a Baldachin's blessing. Though it is but a fleeting thing, I am afraid. Come back to me, should you require another. I will take you in my arms as often as you need.
Okay. Interesting. So we'll have to take a look and see what that does. Now, there is a mechanic that goes on with this that for a lot of people first time playing, you're not going to notice it. You'll see a little icon by your health bar, and it's like a red square with a down arrow. That's basically saying that you have less health. I forget where you can like check where that is. But here's the Baldachin's blessing. It's got an interesting picture too. Look, it's got like a door kind of thing with some kind of scripture over it, and I would say like kind of drapery, curtain looking things. Favor bestowed by a deathbed companion, right? She's Fia, the deathbed companion. Protection of a hidden temple in the guise of a bedchamber. Uses FP to temporarily boost poise. The favor allows one to forget any aches and pains. In death, there is only peace, for in death, there can be no sensation. Interesting. I am going to put that on my bar, because I do kind of want to use it. I wish you could get these things like more regularly or easily and like hold on to them. But you use it once and then it'll go away. So if you want it again, like she says, you have to come back and talk to her. Does she have anything else to say?
I'm pleased to see you again. Would you like me to hold you once more? The blessing is still aflame in your breast, dear. Would you like to be held? Regardless?
Sure, we'll let her hold us, and then we can talk in secret.
I was known as a deathbed companion. Where I come from, after I received the warmth and lively vigor from a number of champions, I lay with the remains of an exalted noble. To grant him another chance at life, to do so is the purpose of my being. But before I could bear the noble into new life, I was awakened by the guidance of grace and chased from my birthplace. Pray, be kind. Despite all that, I still wish to be a deathbed companion. So please, let me hold you like this, as often as it takes. Then good day to you, my dear.
Interesting. So, she talks about her purpose, deathbed companion, and her whole purpose was to take the warmth of champions, the life, the vigor of it, and gift it to somebody else. So like she said, an exalted noble. And we see that in the picture. Some like, I would say just a corpse, right? Just a cadaver. And so she gathered all the strengths from champions and was supposed to bring him back, would be the idea. Except it was interrupted by, the grace of gold. And said, you are now tarnished. We want you to seek out the Elden Ring, right? And so they shunned her for that. So she still wants to do that. And now with that knowledge in mind, it makes sense why we have this icon. It decreases our maximum HP because she has taken some strength from us. And she would like to use it to bring somebody back because she still wishes to be a deathbed companion. Now let's talk to Corin. This will be the last thing we do, given the book.
I can happily spare the time.
Okay, give her prayer book. Give Assassin's prayer book.
That is a work of heresy.
Oh, okay.
Its incantations bear no lineage from the Erd Tree. Very well. I'll take it off your hands.
So the interesting thing about that, because it's the incantations of the Inquisitors, Assassins of the Roundtable Hold. And the Roundtable Hold is supposed to serve like the two fingers. And I would assume, like the Golden Order or something, right? It's got the Finger Maidens. The Finger Maidens talk to or learn, like give us guidance of the two fingers. And our whole purpose is to then restore the Elden Ring. So like, it's all supposed to be in service of that. But he's saying that it's heresy, that it doesn't have any lineage from, like, what do you say, the Erd Tree. So it's weird, like, why is that the case? Like, if it's from the servants and stuff, are they just using heretical things for the greater good? But he doesn't. It's interesting. So there's 2 spells. 3 spells. No, just 2. Darkness. Cast an area of darkness that conceals the caster. So incantation of 2 fingers servants who once served as assassins of the Roundtable Hold. Creates a veil of darkness that conceals the caster. It can be cast in motion or crouching. The assassins were themselves once tarnished, who had strayed from guidance, and they pursued their duty in the darkness that is without grace. Interesting. So, right, we still have guidance, like we can see it, but he mentioned that it seems to be a rare thing now. So there were others like us who could see guidance, see grace, and then lost it. And so they continued to be assassins, and they pursued their duty in the darkness that is lacking grace. And then we've got the assassin's approach. It completely silences the footsteps of the caster. Additionally, it reduces fall damage and the sound produced by falling. It can be cast in motion or crouching. The assassins were charged with eliminating tarnished who had strayed from guidance. So, much like the kicking the desk, much like, the idea of what an inquisitor would do is to go through and look for, I would say, corruption in the ranks or somebody who does not hold the faith anymore. These assassins, who are themselves tarnished, who have strayed from guidance or have lost the sight of guidance, go and they eliminate other tarnished who no longer have guidance. And I'm assuming it's to prevent others competing with them with their true purpose. We want to find the Elden Ring, so what are these guys going to do that don't see guidance anymore? So interesting stuff. But that's where we're going to call it for now. There's one little section over here, but we're going to do that a little bit later. Thank you guys for checking it out. In the next one, we will do a bit of some overall exploring in Limgrave, some specific dungeons and stuff that I think have some interesting things for us to learn from. But until the next one, again, always really appreciate you guys checking it out. And until then, take care.